Hello, my good friends. An absolute revelation. I have been rejected by all of the universities, literally all of them. And I am just right down the street from Yale, and there's a fellow down there, Professor Derek Briggs, absolutely refuses to examine the mud fossils. And I have the CAT scans, the DNA tests, the anatomists, the specimens. I mean, right here, there's a mud fossil right there. That's a bonehead. And I mean, anybody that's an anatomist could certainly understand that that's the head of a bone. It's broken off there. That little white spot right there is all that's left, because these are soft tissue mud fossils. What happens is these were in a saltwater flood, and that's why they just fall apart. The bodies fall apart, but the pieces stay intact because of the fascia and the coatings on the bones, and on the lungs there's pleura. Like, that's a bonehead, that's the ligament attachment, that is the actual cartilage, and this is a fabric, and you see that little triangle? There's a fabric that wraps around and just holds it. The ancients used to call it tunica. This is a lung. That's a mud fossil lung, and any anatomist obviously is going to understand that. Professor Briggs, I feel now, I think I understand, he feels assaulted. And here's why I say that, because of this. I've been trying to understand why these people that claim to want to understand the honest truth of things reject truth. Well, why we react to inconvenient truths as if they were personal insults. And that is exactly how Professor Briggs took this. I mean, in my mind, he felt insulted that I questioned his ability to think, because he already has his opinions and he's not going to change his mind. So this is 8 years it's been going on, so this is not new. And I've had, for 5 years, I've had the DNA tests all done. And I have, and like I say, that was DNA tested, human, and that was looked at by an anatomist, and that is the depression of the lung. It's the left lung, and you see how flat that top is here? Well, it's the bottom, actually. The thing, when these die, they lay flat like that. Well, this one did. Now, they might like that, and it would be squished down, but this guy died flat like this. Now, that's why you have that flat spot, because these were in a flood, in a saltwater flood. This was wet and soggy, and blip, it did that. Now, virtually all of them did. I have one here. This one here was the guy's whole body. There's his lungs right there. And if this is like a CAT scan through his lungs. That's the interior of the lungs. And then you get to his back, which is here, and you have all of this bone bits. All right? And the black is FeO2 blood. It's deoxygenated blood with iron. See, the iron complexes, there's what they call metal complexes. Well, I don't have to worry about that now. What I'm telling you is I have the absolute 100% facts, and I believe Professor Briggs feels insulted. So what I'm going to ask everybody to do is send him an email and ask him to please examine mud fossils. And I'm not trying to insult anyone. I'm just trying to get this understood. Now, we have 75,000 people that subscribe to mud fossils right now, and we all understand it's real. I mean, it's not something that you can deny. So, and a professor teaching students, it's a response. It's called a fiduciary duty to be honest to the students. And if just because there's an opinion or if somebody feels insulted, it doesn't mean that they can teach them something that is not true and known not true for years. And this never will be known as true, because everybody else, I went to Yale, I tried, nobody would take it. Yale dropped and would never speak about it when I talk to me, and refuses to examine them for years. And everywhere else I tried, they said, take it to Yale, you're right down the street, take it to Peabody. I said, they won't look at it. They all told me I was an idiot, so why would anybody look at it? Because if they won't look at it, nobody will look at it. And they won't look at it. So, I'm not insulting you, Professor Briggs. This is not an insult. This is just we want to see, just look at him. And if you say it's not real, and you bring in somebody else other than yourself, because I know your agenda right now is to just throw me out of there. I know that's a fact, because you won't let me in there. So I want at least a couple people to look at this, 2, 3 people, and then we'll sit down and I'll videotape it and say, you know, let's talk about it. I'll have your opinion about it, and then I'll do a video about it. I'll be glad to do that. But I need it to be looked at by somebody, and nobody will look at it. I contacted the origins of human life or something like that up at Harvard half a dozen times. There's no response whatsoever. Tried calling, leaving messages, everybody, everywhere. And the word's out. And I was put on an academic spam list, the first person I contacted. They just cannot, they take it as an insult, and it's not an insult. It's a knowledge increase, and it's something that, there was things that were wrong. Absolutely they were wrong. But that's not an insult. Nothing insulting. It's insulting to you know, and it's I mean, now there's a lot of words for it, but it's not right to just ignore it. And I don't want to go into a lot of words about it, because I can get pretty nasty because it's been a long time, and I've been under a lot of, well, let me just put it this way. Everybody thinks I'm an idiot because you won't look at this stuff, Professor Briggs. All right, so I'm not going to take it as an insult. I know he's insulted because I'm showing something that blows him out of the water, really. But here's his, Derek.Briggs@Yale.edu. You should just send him a little email and say, Derek, why don't you take a look at it? Roger's right down the road from you, and I'll be glad to show him the stuff. I have no axe to grind here. I just want it to be shown, and you know, I'm just too tired of waiting anymore. So I'm just going to tell people what happened. I mean, you just couldn't even imagine what happened at the University of Texas. Absolute nightmare.